renarspodcast.
Great. And then you got there, but how did you get into stunts?
So while I was going through this whole process and sort of struggling, I did some extra work as an essay on a program called The Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another good story of sort of fate and destiny.
Go for it.
I was there as an extra, and there was a stunt being performed on set that day, and it was Glenn Marks, who of course I know now well from being in the industry, but at the time I didn't know who the hell it was, and he was doing a car knockdown, but it wasn't even a car knockdown. It was literally standing on the back of a platform that was attached to a car, and as the car reversed, he had to jump back onto the windshield as if he'd been hit by the reversing car. And I don't know why it hadn't occurred to me before. I don't know why, even though people had spoken about me doing stunts and perhaps I should get into it, it's like the penny dropped. Because when I saw him do that, I was like, well, I can do that.
And much better.
And with a double twist. And I'm getting paid £64.50 for the day, and he's probably getting $1,000, well, or whatever he was getting for it. Yeah. And it was probably close to $1,000, And I was like, this is insane. And that's when I started to train for the stunt register. So Glenn Marks did have some...
Shout out to Glenn Marks.
bearing on the fact that, yes, it really sort of made me wake up, smell the coffee, and get on with the training. And that's how I got into stunts.
Right, and that's why also, like, how easy was for you to find out all the ropes and where do you do the, because for British Stunt Register you need to do the skills, right now it's 6, was it the same thing when you were?
6 disciplines.
6 disciplines,
And you had to do, 6 disciplines, and I think it's no 2 from any one category, right? No more than 2 from any one category.
Yeah. So water,
so you've
heights,
got
and
gymnastics, strength and agility.
Yeah.
Vehicles and horses, water skills, scuba diving, and then you've got
climbing,
fighting skills.
Yeah, and fighting stuff as well. Yeah. So yeah, how easy was for you to find out who to talk to? Did you talk there on the spot with Glenn or?
No. I didn't approach Glenn. I just had been made aware of the register from various people along the way. Dave Fisher was one person that when I did another pantomime season with Dave Fisher, and he was really sort of pushing me to do it because he said, "You've got all the skills. Why don't you just do it?" And then so he told me to contact Equity, and then Equity then forwarded me on the literature to what I needed. Today, you just go to the stunt register directly, and they will give you the information that you need. But it's still pretty much the same, and even though the skill levels have changed slightly and the specifics,
right. But I think the biggest difference is between of how hidden it was. No one really knew.
Oh, totally. Back then.
Yeah.
I can see where you're getting at. Yeah. Back then, it was like you didn't know.
It's like a unicorn.
Yeah, it was. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack, and it was
Sasquatch.
you had to really fill your way, do the research, try and find a club that matched, that did the levels or the system that you needed. And it was really difficult to find. Now, of course, it's an open book, and everybody knows everybody and knows where to train. And lots of you new guys, you all train together, so you know each other even before you get on the register.
Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is, like, because of social media, people can find out straight away things.
Absolutely.
So if someone posts like, oh, like they did the movie, whatever, I do that sometimes as well. Like I did like Fight with Enola Holmes on that show, and then I would post it, and people would be like, oh, how did you go? What is this? And oh yeah, stunts. Oh, you need to qualify. Oh, you need to be a SAR. Look it up, and boom, 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 like this. But back in the days, then it's like
you were solo.
Totally
you were
different
on
story.
your own, and you didn't know anybody else that was training. Well, I certainly didn't anyway. So I did all the training, and I haven't really looked back. I mean, it's
again, about 25 years.
25 years I've been on the stunt register. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
It's been all right. Yeah, but it was really difficult in the industry back then because it was so quiet. We didn't have the tax incentives that we did around sort of 2009, 2010, when everything really kicked off after the Harry Potters. And, since then, it's just got busier and busier and busier. So, there were just a handful of people that really went from job to job to job. And to get a look in with any of the stunt coordinators was tough. I mean, you'd call them and they'd just tell you to sling your hook, really, basically. Or they'd be really rude to you and say, well, don't give up your day job because the chances of you working are pretty, slim. And they loved it. They loved lauding that sort of, I don't know, the bad news over you and the sort of a bully boy tactics.
So now when you're a stunt coordinator, do you do that?
No, not at all. I'm sorry. I'm so encouraging. Because there's
I remember what they did to me.
No, but there are some coordinators like that want to hand it down. I'm not going to hand that down to people because I one thing I've learned is really there is room for everybody. And there's no need to be backstabbing and throw your toys out your pram or be mean and nasty and horrible because there's room for everyone, and
especially
it should be a great place to go to work. Not because some of the early jobs were when you went to work, you were shitting yourself. You were like, oh God, is the coordinator going to pick on me today? Is it going to be an easy day? It's going to be tough. And now I love going to work. I work for fantastic coordinators. You have a laugh. I mean, it's make believe after all. Yes, we put in the hard work, and there are knocks to be taken, and you've got to use your skills, and it's dangerous. Let's not forget that. Some people don't make it home. That we've got to remember. Stunts is it's a very elite profession, and it's dangerous, but it is fun, and I do really enjoy it, and a lot of that is because attitudes have changed now, and the coordinators that have come through are not real old schools. Make your life
and for you,
misery.
that transition for you being a performer and to being a stunt coordinator, how did that the first couple of times? How did that felt like? Because now you are in charge. You taking that responsibility. You have to make sure that like everything is set, and if anyone gets injured or whatever, that is kind of on your shoulders. How was that?
Well, for the longest time, I didn't want to be a coordinator. I'll be honest. It was like, okay, I'm quite happy jumping around, and because I could,
now you can do it.
No, I still can, but there comes a point where you really have to nurture that side of your career because you won't be able to jump around forever, and it's just a natural progression. And there are people coming through the door who are better, stronger, faster, better looking,
taller.
More skilled, etc. And so it was just it's a natural progression, and eventually I realized I had to sort of take the bull by the horns and eventually start to go down that route myself. And it was the strangest thing about the transition between being a performer and a coordinator was the fact that I was so. And people were coming up to me after the job going, thank you so much, that was amazing. And I was like, but I didn't do it.
You did it.
Renars did. And I was getting all the credit. Yes, you put the stuff together, you've done the risk assessments, and you've liaised with everybody to make it safe and everything. And I've come to sort of embrace that now. But initially that was very strange that I got the credit when it was the performer that did something. If for the longest time it was hard for me to sort of get my head around the fact that you were the creative one because you'd done the stunt, and I was so used to being on that end, but I didn't see the creative part of being the coordinator straight away.
It took a little bit of time.
A little bit to get used to, and then realizing what a tough job it is, and also the huge amounts of responsibility.
But in the same time, you just said like how difficult it is, how tough it is to be on a set where that coordinator can, I don't know, pick on you and say something and do these whatever things, but doesn't make you feel comfortable. So that's straight away your performance suffers, your whole well-being suffers, right? But then when you as a coordinator, you create this really great atmosphere. We can work, we can relax, we can do our thing, we can laugh when it's okay to laugh, and we have to be serious when we're serious, And one of the things what I noticed, I'm not going to call the names and stuff, but there are some coordinators, they're like, it's always have to be serious. There's no laugh, there's no joking around. It's like, what? And then with other coordinators, yes, we laugh, we joke around, but when we do the job, we do the job. And that's how it should be in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, when it's time to
yeah.
step up to the mark, you've got to be able to
Exactly,
do it and
100%.
pull out the aces when the time is
100%.
right. But, you know, you don't get the best out of someone by threatening them.
I think you get
them.
worse. Like they get all stressed.
Well, that's right.
And
You can't relax, and
exactly.
you know, you really have to be 100% focused and give 110% of yourself when you're doing stunts. So if you're not able to relax because your coordinator isn't being very nice to you, or you feel like, you know, you can't concentrate because you're worried about whatever he or she is going to do, or they these days, and it's you can't give your 110%, which you have to. Like in sport, you got to be 100% focused. Because that's when the accidents happen. And with stunts, as you know, and being a coordinator, even the simplest stunts can go wrong. And usually it is the ones that aren't so dangerous where the accidents can happen. I mean, there's been, you know, huge stunt stars, you know, who are celebrities in our industry who have died just going back to ones, you know, resetting. Yeah. So you just never know. You can never take anything for granted.
Blah, blah, blah. Renarspodcast.